As you may know, the Conjuring universe has shifted the horror genre in a different direction, centering around Ed and Lorraine Warren, world-renowned demonologists, and their experiences with things that are not of this world. The movies themselves are based on true stories of families that have experienced such horrors, including that of the Perron family, Amityville Horror, and the Hodgkins family, all of which have experienced demonic possession. A particularly violent demonic presence that still exists today is locked in a box on display at the Warrens Occult Museum, and you may have heard of her. She's an antique Raggedy Ann doll that goes by the name of Annabelle. The story begins in 1970 when 28-year-old nurse Donna and her roommate Angie were gifted the doll by Donna's mother, who bought it from a second-hand thrift store. At first, things were perfectly normal, and then things started to take a turn. The event started off small, like the doll crossing her legs and arms, and Donna coming home to her sitting in a different position than when she previously left her. Then the events became a little more drastic. Soon after, Donna and Angie began to notice that she would be sitting in a completely different room than before, and sitting on the floor rather than the chair or the bed. They then started to find small pieces of parchment paper they didn't own, around the house, with written messages like, "Help me, help us." The girls originally thought that there was some intruder that was moving the doll and leaving the notes, but when she began to leak a red liquid resembling blood, they decided it was time to call someone for help. The first medium to sit down with the girls and the doll told Donna and Angie that their apartment complex used to be a field, and that a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins had died there many years prior. When the doll entered their apartment, Annabelle's spirit found herself attached to it. Feeling sorry for the little girl, they gave her permission to move into it so she wouldn't be alone. A male friend of theirs by the name of Lou was the first to experience aggression from Annabelle. He was the first to admit that he was not fond of the doll and warned Donna that it was evil. One night, he was in a deep sleep over the apartment when he woke up to find Annabelle standing at his feet. Paralyzed, he watched as she climbed up his body to his neck and began to strangle him until he blacked out. When he woke up, he was certain it was not a dream. On another occasion, Lou and Angie were looking at maps for a trip Lou was going to take when they heard rustling from Donna's room as she was gone. Lou opened the door to find Annabelle laying in a corner rather than the bed. As he suddenly felt a presence behind him, he turned around to find no one, and suddenly doubled over, clutching his chest. They discovered 7 deep, hot scratches buried across his chest, which rapidly healed within 2 days. It was then that the Warrens got involved in the case. Along with the second medium, the Warrens explained to the girls that the medium they previously saw had been manipulated into seeing Annabelle so that she could move into the doll as a facade. What Lorraine Warren felt as a seer herself was a very sinister presence that surrounded the doll and their home. She came to the conclusion that this was not a spirit, but a demonic entity. She informed the girls that demons and evil entities don't possess things, they possess people. It didn't want to get inside of the doll. It wanted to get inside of them. A priest of the church blessed the apartment, the girls, and the doll, tasking the Warrens to take the conduit away and confine it to a space where it could not harm anyone else. On the way home, they experienced various issues, such as traffic accidents, failed power steering, and the car completely stalling. After sprinkling holy water on the doll, Ed and Lorraine were finally able to travel safely. When they got home, they locked her in a glass case next to numerous different haunted artifacts in the room and blessed it. If you look at pictures of the original doll, there are several warning signs plastered on her case saying, "Positively to not touch," as well as a cross that does not move. Although do not be fooled. Many cases of individuals who taunt the doll at the occult museum or doubt the existence of the evil attached to it were reported to get into near-death experiences or brutal accidents when leaving the museum. It's been proven that even though she can't touch you, it doesn't mean she can't hurt you. Although the origin of the evil entity itself is unclear, one thing is for certain. Evil exists, and something is attached to the doll. As Ed Warren once said, "If we believe in God so much, it's time we started believing in the devil. Sometimes it's better to keep the genie in the bottle."